Hello, creators, and welcome to Rediscovering Be Something Wonderful, where we revisit timeless classics from deep within our video archives. What if prayer isn't about asking for what you want, but rather giving thanks in advance for what is already yours? What if the most powerful prayer is one of unconditional gratitude? Gratitude isn't simply being thankful after your desire manifests, but recognizing that your wish is already fulfilled before you see any physical evidence. Gratitude is preparing you to receive what is already and has always been yours. Now, that's a prayer. In this video, you'll rediscover why Jesus gave thanks before Lazarus ever walked out of that tomb, why no physical condition is ever final, and why gratitude moves you beyond appearances into knowing your desire is already done. Because gratitude isn't about waiting for reality to give you something to be thankful for. Gratitude is giving thanks because it's already yours. Now, let's open the vault once again and rediscover the extraordinary simplicity of consciously creating the life of your wildest dreams. Welcome back to Be Something Wonderful.
Big video today. This comes on the heels of a great session that I had yesterday with a client. And he said, Tom, I affirm and I pray a lot. And I would like more immediate results. Some things come, some don't, but I want to see it faster. He goes, what's the best way? What's the best prayer? What's the best affirmation? Well, today, guys, we're going to cover this and more. And here's what I want to say. And I've talked about this in many different ways. But you can't get any more powerful than a prayer of gratitude. Than a prayer of gratitude in advance. An affirmation of thanksgiving. Thanks for everything that you already have because it's already yours. I want to hit this because we talked about, he's Christian, and he talked about Mark 11:24. All things that you ask for which you ask and pray for, believe that you have received it and you shall. And we talked about the extraordinary verb tenses there, right? That you have received it. In other words, already, and you will. Right, this whole idea, but here's what I want to start with, and we're going to really unpack this today and more. All things are fulfilled now in spirit. Mark 11:24 says it, but I really want to hit it harder today. All things are fulfilled right now in spirit. There is only now, and there is only spirit. So it's only now, and it's spirit, and it's fulfillment. Right? That's why a prayer of gratitude in advance. In advance of what? In advance of the appearances in 3D reality, of what you see and perceive. Do you see that? Is the most potent prayer ever. That's why, right? Gratitude. Father, remember in John 11:41-42, when Jesus, before he resurrected Lazarus, he heard Lazarus was dead, right, or was dying, right? And this is where Jesus, in front of the tomb, says, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. Hear this. And then he goes on to say, and I know that you always hear me. But because of the people who are standing by, I said this, that they may believe that you sent me. Let's look at this. Father, I thank you. I thank that in infinite intelligence, the quantum field, that power that I am an individualized center of. I thank that you have heard me. In other words, it's always hearing you. That greater subconscious, that great creative medium of God is always listening. Before they answer, before they call, I will answer. Right? It's always hearing you. But here's what Jesus goes on to say, and I know that you always hear me. Jesus knows that. But because of the people, in other words, remember, people represent contrary thought. These are all your contrary thoughts. Remember, all subconscious thought, all contrary thoughts. Who are standing by, I said this. To deny those contrary thoughts, to reaffirm with gratitude that it's already yours, despite the people standing around. In other words, despite the doubts, the fear, or the contrary thoughts, right? That they may believe that you sent me. In other words, that that higher you, that higher thought, that I amness, you were sent by the Father, by that unconditioned consciousness. Look at this, guys. Let's take this a little further. The people that are standing by are your thoughts. All thoughts are limiting. So you have all thoughts. Every thought that's ever been thought, every feeling, every event appears and occurs and is part of that great subconscious. Any that there ever be, it's always there. Every thought is a thing of limitation. It's a cover, a veil over our infinite beingness. This is what Lester Levinson says. In other words, the Father. It's a veil over the Father, right? Look at this again. Father, I thank you that I have heard me. Now you're piercing the veil. Hear this. Every thought is a thing of limitation, a cover, a veil over our infinite beingness. Now you're piercing the veil with one thought. What's that thought? Of gratitude. All contrary thoughts, all other thoughts fall to the side. They dissolve in that gratitude. Because what is gratitude? It's love. It's gratitude. It's thankfulness in advance because there is only now. Do you see what's happening here? This is such a powerful thing. Every thought is a thing of limitation. It's a cover, a veil of our infinite beingness. Lester Levinson, in other words, infinite beingness, or the beingness is the Father. You're piercing the veil with gratitude. When you focus on the thought of gratitude, it drowns out all contrary thought. That's really the meaning of meditation and prayer. You're meditating to God as you express gratitude in every moment and every day. Right? You experience more of yourself, your true self, so that they may believe you sent me. Hear this. Remember, the me in this case, Jesus represents your true self, your I am, your higher self. Right? So that's why, and so you experience more of who you really are. I know that you always hear me, but because of the people, the contrary thoughts who are standing by, they're all around you. They surround you. I said this, that they may believe that you sent me. In other words, that you may assert that higher self, that you may believe in that higher self, that you may have the experience of that I amness. That's very big. So remember, subconscious or unconscious thoughts don't or doesn't mean you're not thinking them right now. It just means they're unconscious. Right? It only means you're not consciously thinking of them at this moment. Right? It means you're not consciously thinking of them, but you're thinking them. They're thoughts, and they're in the subconscious. They're being thoughts. They're always on. They're always active. Think of the thoughts running your body. If you stop thinking of those thoughts that are automatic, that are running unconsciously to control your breathing and pump your blood would stop pumping. Your hair would stop growing. The flowers would stop blooming. The planets would fall out of space. That's all being run by that great subconscious. So you're always thinking thoughts. You're not always conscious of the thoughts you're thinking. That's big, right? The people, the subconscious thoughts, those are the people standing by, right? That are standing by in this prayer from Lazarus, right? You saw this, the people that are standing by, right? They're always near me, but because the people who are standing by, I said this. In other words, I thanked you because you always hear me. I did this because they're always there, right? They're always standing by. That are standing by, active and running your life unless you're consciously directing it. Those people, those thoughts, those subconscious thoughts, they all exist and they're active. And they're running your life unless you are consciously directing it. Something or someone else is running your life unless you are running it through your conscious thought. Those thoughts are standing by, right? They're active. They're there. How do you do it then? just like Jesus did. I thank you that you always hear me. And I know that you always hear me. This is what Jesus said. I know that you always hear me. I know you're here. I know I know that the universe exists within me. I know that I am the divine. I know that I have everything in me. I know it's all mine. But I did it anyway. I expressed that gratitude again because of those people standing by or those subconscious thoughts. Do you hear this? So powerful. And then the shortest verse in the Bible, 2 words, Jesus wept. John 11:34. And there's been a lot of speculation why Jesus wept. Sure, it could be because Martha and everybody around them lacked faith in him that he could resurrect Lazarus. But it's bigger than that, right? The shortest and one of the most powerful verses in the Bible. Well, remember, Jesus knew the unreality of death. Jesus knew the unreality of 3D conditions. Jesus knew in the next minute or so, 5 minutes, he was going to raise Lazarus from death. He was going to resurrect him. Jesus knew all that, but he wept anyway. Right? And sure, it could be that he wept for lack of faith of those around him, but it's bigger than that, right? He understood here's the big thing. So Jesus knew the unreality of death in the 3D conditions. When he wept when he arrived at the tomb of Lazarus, and everyone was weeping around him, right? And they all knew Jesus' power, so they were weeping and they knew his power, but they wept anyway, and Jesus wept, right? And he knew the unreality, he knew the 3D, but he also understood that the experience of consciousness is real. Hear this, that your experiences in 3D, we know 3D is an illusion, we know it's a projection. We know those circumstances are malleable and changeable, right? And not the real reality behind it. But even knowing all that, just like when we see a good movie and we weep, right? We weep because we feel it. We know it's just a movie. We know that at the end of the movie, we're going to walk out and go to dinner and laugh with our friends or whatever we do. But we still weep anyway. Jesus wept anyway. Because Jesus knew the unreality of it. Jesus knew that 3D conditions are not permanent, they're not real. Jesus understood the power behind it, but he also understood that there's an experience of consciousness that feels very real, right? And knew that, and also remember, he knew of his impending crucifixion and physical death. Knew that he would have to have that experience. Right? And knew that it wasn't real, but wept anyway. That's powerful. So yes, it could be that he wept because of the lack of faith in those around him and all those other reasons why. But the big reason is the unreality of death, the unreality of those conditions that you call things, and that you do experience them, right? We grieve. We have moments of joy. We have moments of sadness, moments of frustration. We feel it all. And do it. Feel it all. This is the message here. Jesus wept. Feel it all. But believe in that greater I amness that you are. Do you see that? You can weep. You can grieve. You can have moments of ecstasy and joy and moments of depression and fear. But know the reality behind it, like the King of Kings knew. Right? Know that. So yes, but the message is bigger. Right? That's the message here. So Jesus again and then it says here in John 11:38, again, Jesus at the tomb of Lazarus. So Jesus again, being deeply moved within, came to the tomb. Now it was a cave and a stone was lying against it. This is what they're saying. So after he wept, he moved to the stone. He went within, right? Within that consciousness, within that greater knowing, within his imagination, knowing the unreality of death and the only reality of your imagination beingness. That's what Jesus did. Now he's knowing, now he's connecting with the true reality, right? Your imagination. The only reality is your imagination. The only reality is that God within you, that I amness, right? And the tomb, what's the tomb represent here? The dark cave is the subconscious thought. Believing in separation, believing in limitation, believing in Jesus wept, right? Believing in that limitation, believing in these conditions, looking at them appearing very real, and the appearance is a 3D condition, right? And the stone was lying against it. The stone was lying against, covering the tomb. We believe it's permanent. The stone's covering. That's all we see. We see a dark cave. We know there's a dead body in there, and we know there's a stone covering it. All of these facts are right there. And we'll weep. We'll weep. We'll look at these facts and we'll weep. We'll feel them. But then we're going to look at the reality of it, the real reality behind it. Do you see this? Right? And then Jesus says, 11:39, remove the stone. In other words, disregard those. No facts are final. That's what Jesus said. Remove the stone. In other words, no facts are final. There is no death. Conditions, there are no fixed conditions. There is nothing that you can't be, do, or have. That's what Jesus is saying here. Judge not by appearances. Show faith, show conviction, show that knowing of who you really are. Remove the stone. Wow, that's big, right? Off that hidden and dark subconscious thought. In other words, express gratitude in advance, right? Express gratitude. All things for which you pray, ask, and believe that you have received them, they will be granted you. Mark 11:24. We just talked about this, right? Mark 11:24. So here it is. To pray and ask is not to desire. It's not to crave. It's not to want 3D conditions to be different than they are. In other words, when you pray and ask, there's an expectation, a conviction that you will receive it. And more than that, there's a knowing, a deep knowing that you already have. Hear this. So to ask and pray is not to crave and beg and give me this and give me that. No, it's not the desire. There's an expectation and conviction that you will receive it. But bigger than that, there's a deeper knowing, a profound knowing that you already have. Right? So believe that you have received them. That's the other part of this prayer. Gratitude in advance, knowing it's already yours. That's why you can give gratitude in advance. That's why Jesus said, I thank you. Right? And I thank you that you heard me, and I know that you always hear me. In other words, I'm always thankful in advance because I know you're always listening. I know you're always hearing me. Then he commands it, Lazarus, come forth. Then you claim it. And then you say, unbind him and let him go. In other words, release all that contrary thought, right? Remember, even Martha was questioning it, right? Saying, hey, he's been dead 4 days. Messiah, he's been dead Master, he's been dead 4 days. He's going to stink. Remember I said in another video, Lazarus was dead. Right? I said he was dead. He was dead for 4 days. Right? Remember what we talked about, the idea that after 3 days, the belief was after 3 days, the spirit leaves the body. So although a possible resurrection would have been, they might have believed it if it was within 3 days. After 4 days, no possibility. Impossible, because the spirit leaves the body. Lazarus is dead. He's stinking now. The body's decaying. This is what's going on, right? But Jesus removed the stone. Remove that doubt. There are no fixed facts. In fact, Lazarus, come forth. Come on out. Right? And then Lazarus comes out, but he's still bound by grave clothes, by linen, and his hands are tied, and his feet are tied. He's still bound by 3D thoughts of contrary thoughts that come up after you claim it, after you declare your wish. Right? You declare it's done. You assume it, and then all these opposites come up. And then you sit there paralyzed like Lazarus, tied up in grave clothes. Right? In your grave clothes, you're standing there and saying, what do I do now? The opposites came up. Instead, what does Jesus say? Unbind him and let him go. Unbind yourself. Right? Let yourself go from that contrary thought. How do you do it? By gratitude, continual gratitude. That's the prayer that brings instant fulfillment. I am your host, I'm Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators and members, thank you. Thank you for being a part of Be Something Wonderful. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for liking the videos. Thank you for hitting that notification button so you don't miss a video. Thank you for considering joining our other channel, the membership channel, which is really just designed to give you more powerful content. Also, we're going to have live streams eventually, and really a way that you can support Be Something Wonderful. So guys, don't forget to visit us on Facebook at Be Something Wonderful. That's our organization page. We have a group called the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful. We also have an Instagram and Twitter page at Tom Kearin, or just go to our website anytime at tomkearin.com or BeSomethingWonderful.com for all that information and more. With great love, with great light, and infinite gratitude, and I mean that, infinite gratitude. Creators, members, see you soon.